And we're back. Dr. Jacques Despitri of Soho MD here at the Bullpen at the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference. I'm here with Lisa and Stella of Likarda. Hello.
Hi.
Glad you could make it today. So could you tell us how you got here?
Yes, Likarda's technology started back in my research lab at the University of Kansas Medical Center. We were working in cell therapies and knew that we needed a way to protect them if we were going to transplant them. My background started back in physiology with a PhD and emphasis in biophysics, and then a pharmacology postdoc. And from that, I really fell in love with cell therapies, knowing that they could completely change people's lives and cure diseases rather than just treating a symptom. So the technology really came out of my research lab. I was chair of a department there, and some of the large pharma companies started showing interest in what we were doing. I didn't realize at the time that I was incubating a business in my research lab, but we spun out when they showed interest that there was perhaps some commercial applications for what we were doing in the academic setting.
That must have been exciting.
It was.
And you were able to transition smoothly from the academic world into the business setting?
You know, I had a really supportive dean and upper administration. I've heard horror stories where it's not as easy to transition out, but they were very supportive of us and really helped launch the company.
That's amazing. And Stella, and you?
Well, I actually started in science and academia as well, but I purposely wanted to transition into business. So after my science and clinical degrees, I got recruited by a wonderful company, Merck & Company. I spent next 15 years actually applying all the knowledge that I had about pharmacology, about therapeutics and how to treat patients, but actually delivering these drugs to patients. And I found it to be very rewarding. So after 20 years in large pharma, I actually decided to be able to work with founders and actually founded a couple of companies myself in order to help people to take their brilliant inventions and their ideas to where it's applied and makes a difference to patients.
Absolutely. And so tell us about Likarda.
Yes, as we developed cell therapies, and we sit in Kansas City, and Kansas City is the heart of the animal health corridor. All of the large animal health companies are there. So one of our first ideas was to apply these cell therapies to animal diseases, diabetes for dogs and cats, osteoarthritis and joint disease for horses and dogs. But what we found, again, along the way was we really needed a way to protect the cells.
Okay.
And once we discovered that, it's called core shell spherification. Okay. And it is the way to protect the cells so that they're not rejected by the immune system. We can also release them slowly over time. Think about a slow-release capsule drug. You can do that with cell therapies or antibodies as well. We learned that other people were very interested in that hydrogel technology, core shell spherification, and came to us asking, could we create delivery systems for their drug? Yeah. So it really grew organically.
So they saw it as a platform. They saw that you were doing this, and they thought all these ways that they could apply that same technology.
So now we have clients with not only cell therapies, but biologics, antibodies, peptides. Even now, small molecule companies are coming to us saying, we need to hold this drug in place for 6 months. Well, we can do that with our technology.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think we also play a critical role in the transforming the healthcare from the perspective of bringing novel technology to the market that will improve efficacy of existing drugs and will alleviate some of the financial burden from the system by our technology enables, for example, to ship cell therapies across borders on dry ice. Some of the costs in carrying the liquid nitrogen, the minus 196 Celsius, the products actually are higher than manufacturing costs for the product. We want to be able to be part of the solution in reducing the costs throughout the whole system. Manufacturing the product using core shell spherification allow us maybe less of cells delivered, not every day, but once that could have a sustained release for 3 to 6 months. That's significantly reducing the burden on the patient and the system. But being able to transport that product on dry ice also removes a lot of the costs from the system. I mean, we both have been around a very long time, and we believe that this is the time to be innovative and do things differently in order to really help the whole system reduce the costs and also for patients to have better outcomes.
So it stabilizes the biological delivery product in such a way that you just don't need to be, as you're saying with liquid nitrogen, you don't need to be as cold. So your shipping costs, your storage costs, so you really kind of decrease the overall expenses for companies right off the bat.
Brilliantly nailed. Well done.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And in fact, we just have a paper coming out in publication this week where we looked at the cost of every reagent
Wow.
to produce that diabetes product and which
whole
ones
di-
were the most expensive, and then eliminating or reducing the concentration or replacing them with something, showing that if you think about cost early during the development, you can
Yeah.
have a much bigger impact instead of waiting too late till you find out the insurance companies aren't going to pay that much for it. You know, think about cost on day
Upfront.
one.
That's amazing. So really, so the impact is right there. Like it's a clear
Yeah.
return on investment for people. And do you find that companies get that? Like when they're coming to you and saying, "Hey, we're interested in what you're doing," do they already have that in mind, or do you have to
Now
educate
they
them?
do.
Okay.
Because I think now we're looking at some groundbreaking medications, but then we look at the cost and we're having an aha moment. How can the system sustain that? So we're looking at taking somebody's brilliant active ingredient, somebody's brilliant technology, and making it more palatable for overall consumers and for the health system.
Yeah, that's amazing. And have you found that people have been receptive to the company? Like it just you had the few that started initially. Is the
Yeah.
broader markets, are they all getting like what you're doing?
When we started, there was a belief that you could there was a term called homing. You
Okay.
inject the cells into the bloodstream and they'll find their way.
Yes,
And they'll stay there
Exactly.
magically.
Yeah, that's it. They just, through whatever mechanism, they identify where they are, and they set up shop and they grow.
But they don't.
That's not, oh,
No,
Yeah.
that's true for bone marrow transplants.
Yep.
Somehow, bone marrow cells, stem cells will find their way to
To
the
the
marrow,
bone, yeah.
but that's the only exception.
interesting, interesting.
A few cells will make it to a target site, but they won't stay there long enough and not in high enough concentrations to be therapeutic.
Wow.
So it's taken a little while, but to answer your question, yes, the companies are starting to see that they can't just inject into the bloodstream and they need some kind of a delivery system. Think about it. You don't take the active ingredient of aspirin, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't take salicylic acid by itself and try
Totally.
and swallow it down. Everything's got an inactive ingredient to help it be absorbed or to get to the right place, to do the right thing. Cells, antibodies, they're no different. They need that inactive ingredient.
That's an ingenious solution.
Oh, thank you.
And,
you.
and what do you guys do? What's your, like, what are you focusing on for 24? What are you excited about in this coming year?
Well, actually, this is exactly what we want to do in 2024. We want to approach as many companies where we can make a difference. We want to make their product better. We want to partner with them in sense we can make it either more efficacious or we can increase the viability of the cell. We also want to focus on speaking to the right investors. We want to target investors that will be our long-term partners. So those two things I think will be critical for 2024 for Likarda.
Very cool. And what's your ask of the bullpen?
I guess my ask is exactly what our goals are. Help us get there. If you're working in cell therapy, proteins, or small molecule where we can help you redesign a novel drug delivery to make your product either more efficacious or stay on target organ longer, please talk to us. We would love to partner with you. If you're an investor who's looking at novel technologies, then we would love to talk to you as well.
That's awesome. Lisa, Stella from Likarda. If you want more information about them, their links, their bios, you can go to bullpen.ventures. Thank you so much. That's incredible work that you're both doing.